Hello, everyone. It is Friday, February 20th, and I am back at the Cornstalk Theater in Peoria, Illinois. This is the first venue of the year that I've come back to for a different show. East Light in East Peoria, I went to twice because it was the same show twice. But this is the first time I'm coming back to the same venue for a different show. I really like this venue. And I'm here to see the importance of being earnest. And in that vein of being earnest and honest, I must confess that I've been lying to you. I am not currently at the Cornstalk Theater in Peoria, Illinois. I'm at Walmart. Last night, I was at the Cornstalk Theater in Illinois. Currently, it is Saturday, February 21st, the following morning. I apologize that I had to deceive you. But I went with a friend last night, and I rode in their vehicle, and so I wasn't able to do my normal pre-show clip for my videos, and I could have done it inside, but honestly I forgot, because we were talking about stuff. So, this is the fake one. I haven't recorded my full video yet. I'll be doing that later today. So, the whole play is about deceit and the truth being revealed. So even though I didn't plan this, it kind of fits thematically with the show. But I have to go get groceries now. Okay. The importance of being earnest. And I apologize for deceiving you before. That was just to maintain some sense of continuity with my chosen format. Not that it's a big deal. And I didn't get the normal clip for Les Mis either, because again I was with a friend. And to be clear, it's not that like I couldn't record a clip when I'm with a friend. It's just that I'm distracted because I'm talking to my friend, and then we're going to go to this thing and find our seats. So I just don't think about it in the moment. Whereas when I go by myself, I get there very early and then I have nothing to do. So this story, the importance of being earnest, I was not familiar with at all. I had heard of it, but like, if you had asked me 4 months ago what it is it a book? Is it a movie? Is it a play? I would have had no idea. Didn't know any characters' names. Didn't know that the name Earnest, spelled differently, was relevant. To me, Earnest is Ernest P. Worrell. You know what I mean, Bird? And there's so much static electricity going on between me and my cat right now. I don't know why. That doesn't normally happen. One of the people who I was showing my list of potential shows that I might go check out, my stepmom is not a fan of Earnest, which my dad is a big fan of Earnest. And when she was going down the list and she saw that, she's like, they've got something here called The Importance of Being Earnest. And so we all had a good laugh. I don't think my cat likes the static charges, but she's not moving, so I don't know. She's giving me dirty looks. So I knew nothing about this. But, second time, I think, mentioned in this series, Tubi. Okay, now she's gone. Tubi had an old, I don't know how many film versions of this there are. Maybe there's only one. There's probably several. Usually with movies this old, or with stories this old, there are multiple, but they've got one, I think, from the 50s. And so I put it on a couple weeks ago, which, by the way, not to, I might sound like a Tubi shill because I keep bringing it up, and at this point I'm not, but I'm probably willing to be. So Tubi, hit me up. Put it on a couple weeks ago, and I just wasn't getting into it. It's very English, like British, but like poking fun at them. So like the Englishness, the Britishness of it is like way ramped up because it's a comedy at the core of it. And I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood or I was just too tired or whatever. It's not particularly engaging. Like there's no action or anything like that. So I watched a bit of it, turned it off, went back to it after a couple days, watched a little bit more of it. Still wasn't super getting into it. Turned it off, and then I finished it. I went to see the show on Friday. I finished the movie Wednesday night, and I had like half the movie left, like almost an hour of it left. And for whatever reason, that hour of it, I sailed through. I was very engaged with it. I wasn't getting distracted on my phone. I wasn't wanting to turn it off and leave. And if you know the story, not to say that it's repetitive, but it's kind of cyclical. And so I think just by the time I got to that second half and I had seen the first half, I was just like, okay, I see where this is going now. I see kind of the comedic conflicts that are going to come up, and now I'm curious to see how they're going to get resolved. So I think that helped me get through the second half, but maybe I was just in a different mood. I don't know. So when watching the show, as soon as it started, because it had by that point been a couple weeks since I had watched the start of the movie, so as soon as the show started, excuse me, immediately I thought, I am so glad I watched the movie first, because if I didn't mention this before, I don't know if I'm deaf or like loss of hearing death. I'm pretty sure I've got tinnitus. It wouldn't surprise me if I also have loss of hearing. Also, my friends and I joke about me being deaf, but like, I watch movies with subtitles. I often struggle to hear people in conversation. So being at this show, where you've got an actor speaking with an accent, not his natural accent, a fake British accent. B, speaking very quickly because of the nature of the character. C, the language being a little bit old-timey. And D, in this venue, which I like this venue. It's, like I said, first one I've been back to again to see a different show. But the actors aren't mic'd. It's a pretty small venue. But when they're near you, but their back is toward you and they're facing away, it's kind of difficult to hear them sometimes. If they're clear on the other side and they're facing away, it kind of bounces back to you pretty quickly. But if they're very close to you and then the sound goes all the way to the other side of the room, it gets a little bit muddled. And combined with everything else, I was struggling to understand what he was saying. But because I had seen the movie, even though I had kind of forgotten parts of it, I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. I know the concept of what's being set up here. So I was very glad that I had watched the movie first, because if I had not, then I probably would have been very confused throughout. But although that aspect of it did seem to get better, because he kind of started with a monologue where that character Algie was the only one on stage, and the other actors, I didn't have that issue with them, so I don't know if maybe just my ears tuned into it as the show went on, because like even with him I didn't have that issue later on, but it could just be that he was speaking louder because there were other characters there and he was building the energy of the character, or I don't know. I can't fully explain why that particular issue didn't seem to persist. But that was just my thought at the start of it was, man, I thought I watched that movie first. But yeah, it was a funny show. It was longer than I thought it would be, and which is not a complaint. Just I think it was longer than the movie, and they took an intermission. I didn't even look at the program. I took the program. I have the program, but again, I was with my friends, so we were talking and chatting about stuff. So I didn't look at the program until the intermission. And so I kind of had it in my head from the movie, and it's not 1-to-1 or anything, but based on how I had um, absorbed the movie, I kind of had a thought, an idea in my head of where I thought the intermission would be between Act 1 and Act 2, because there's very clearly two different acts of the movie. And they didn't take an intermission between Act 1 and Act 2. So then I thought, oh, maybe they're just doing this show without an intermission. But then they did do an intermission, and then my thought was, is this considered the end of Act 1? And there's still a whole other act left? Like, this is going to be really long. Like, what's going on? But then I saw in the program Act 1, Act 2, Scene 1, then intermission, then Act 2, Scene 2. So after the intermission, it wasn't that much longer. So had I perused the program ahead of time, I would have not had that confusion. A choice that I really enjoyed was the stagehands. So the first show I saw at this theater was 39 Steps, and the stagehands were dressed as stagehands, and they did normal stagehand things, and they were a little bit involved. Like, there's a scene where he's being chased by airplanes, and the stagehands had little airplanes on sticks that they were chasing him with. So, like, just a little bit more going on than a normal stagehand, more visible and more actively involved. Not actor status, but more actively involved than you would expect a stagehand to be. In this show, the stagehands were all dressed as servants or butlers or maids or whatever word you want to use, rather than the traditional all black of stagehands. So not only was that an interesting little twist on it, but as they came out and they were moving these things around and taking pieces on and taking pieces off, because there was the scene change between Act 1 and Act 2 before the intermission, and then there was the intermission, and then I want to say there was another scene, maybe not, there was a scene change later where they went from outside in the garden of the estate house into the inside, the living room or sitting room or whatever room inside the house. That transition took place during Act 2, Scene 2. There wasn't really a transition between during the intermission, which is kind of interesting, but I guess you got lots of people walking around, and at a theater like this, where it's theater in the round and the seats are all around, it's not like you can just close the curtain and there is no curtain, there is no backstage. So I guess that makes sense now that I'm saying it out loud. But point is, the audience is watching the scene changes happen, and not only are they dressed as servants as they're doing this, but there's music playing in the background, like classical music, and some of them are kind of dancey, but like they're just kind of doing these little bits, and they're like getting in each other's ways, and oh let me go this, okay, I'll go, and it just adds a little bit of fun, and like not period accurate humor, but I guess period appropriate humor, for lack of a better term. Like it fits the theme of the show. You take something like a scene change with stagehands, which normally is something that most shows try to hide and try to direct your attention away from and get it done as fast as possible. And in this show, they're like, no, we're going to keep the lights on, and they have their own costumes, and we're going to take our time with it and have fun with it. And I thought that was really cool. I feel like I had another thought in the middle of that rambling, and I've now lost it. There was another couple of the stink bugs that I mentioned from the 39 Steps, although I didn't see them prominently resting on the actor's strap, but I saw them flying up around in the lights. So that's seems weird to call that an Easter egg, but it's kind of like a venue trademark that, it doesn't take anything away. It's just, I just find it kind of funny. What was I going to say? I don't know. How long do I want to wait in silence as you watch this video? I guess while I'm trying to think of what I had to say, here's a question that I put to you, and by to you, I don't know who I'm addressing, because like these videos get a few views here and there, but not a lot. But I assume most people are not watching the whole video, because I'm just a guy rambling about nonsense. So I assume it comes up on people's feeds and they just scroll past. But if you're someone that watches these and you're still here almost 15, 20 minutes into this video, I've been trying to think of what other kind of related videos I could do throughout the week. So, because I have the, 2 to 4 videos per weekend, it seems now. But I'd like to do a couple stuff during the week. And at the end of January, I did my January recap, and I'm working on my February recap, but obviously it's not done yet, so it's kind of a work in progress. But I've been thinking about different kind of looking backs that I could do every so many months, right? Maybe every 2 months, or every 3 months, or every 4 months, and I could be like, okay, what was my favorite one that I saw in this period, or like, what I wrote down a bunch of categories, but they're on my phone, which I'm filming with, so I can't read them. But just things like, in a show that I didn't particularly care for, what was a really good aspect of that show? So like, the Nightingale, I want to say, from the Once Upon a Mattress. Like, I didn't love that show, but I thought the Nightingale was really good. And like Les Mis, I didn't like that show, but I thought the On My Own song from Eponine was really good. So like, stuff like that. And I thought about like, not necessarily critiquing, because again, I'm trying not to be overly negative in these videos like I am when I talk about movies. But I'm paying a fair amount of attention to the programs and the tickets, if physical tickets exist, because as I'm preparing to put on my own play, I've been working on my program, and I'm trying to, take the elements that I've appreciated from different programs and incorporate them into mine. And I got the idea last night. I was like, I could just print out tickets for mine. Like, even though it's going to be a free show, like, I can just print out tickets, and then people will have them if they want to, So I'm debating now, trying to find something on Vistaprint or something that I can design and order in bulk. But I thought that could be fun, of my top 3 program layouts of that time period, whether it's, again, 2 months or 3 months or however many months, and my top 3 ticket designs. And with the tickets in particular, I thought about ranking them, just so that I could put Annie at the bottom, because I'm still so salty that it was such a nice looking ticket and then they just took it. And I'm like, that's worse than nothing. That's worse than not giving me anything, because you put the time and effort and money into it, and you let me see how good it was, and then you took it away. So, if you have any ideas about stuff like that, again, whatever small percentage of people are actually watching these through, let me know if you have any ideas like that. Maybe I could do like a mini series of these ones that I can find movie versions of, and kind of do like a preview of like, okay, I watched the movie for this show that I'm going to see this weekend, and here's what I thought of the movie, and then I go see the show. Because I've done that now. I did that with Les Mis. I watched the movie specifically before going to the show. I did that with Earnest, and like Aladdin and Little Shop and Annie and Mary Poppins and probably a couple others. Like, I didn't rewatch the movie specifically before going to see the show. I've seen the movie before, but maybe I could start doing that, even if I've seen the movie before, just rewatching it. But I feel like if I already know the story, I don't want to watch the movie ahead of time, because I don't want to, then especially if it's a movie I like, because I don't want to then compare the show to, this movie produced by a company that makes billions of dollars. Because I don't think that would be fair. I mean, I know it's a different medium and it's a different experience, but especially with a lot of these school shows, I feel like if I watch this movie that I love and then I go see a high school or a grade school performance of it, and it's just like, well, it's not as good as the professionals. It's like, well, yeah, obviously. So Matilda, that's another. I feel like if I'm familiar with the story, I don't need to rewatch it. I'll go enjoy the show for what it is. And then, like with Mary Poppins, it inspired me to watch the movie again, and Mary Poppins 2, and Saving Mr. Banks. So maybe I could do like having seen the show and then rewatching the movie. Here's my thoughts on that. That's an idea I could do. But these ones that I haven't seen before, now with both Les Mis and The Importance of Being Earnest, in both cases, I feel like I'm very glad that I watched the movie ahead of time, because I feel like I would have been lost otherwise. And the one that I can think of that there is a movie version of that I didn't watch before the show is 39 Steps. And the first version of 39 Steps that I saw, which was the radio version, I didn't particularly enjoy. But the second one I did, which was at the Cornstalk Theater, the second one I went to, which was a full stage version, that one I enjoyed. And I'm like, how much of it was just the stage version versus the radio version, and how much of it is just because I knew the story already, so I wasn't getting confused along the way. And then I watched the movie, and then I had thoughts about the movie. So maybe I can do stuff like that. I used to watch movies all the time. I don't watch a lot of movies anymore. I don't have a ton of time during the week to just sit and watch a whole movie. So then to do that and then make a video about it. But I suppose I could probably fit in one a week or so. But I guess if I'm going to 3 shows a weekend, if all 3 of them have movie, what's the word I'm looking for? Not correspondence, movie. You know what I'm talking about. They have a movie version of the story. A movie equivalent, if you will. That's not the word I'm thinking of, but it's close. Then that would be hard to do 3 or 4 during a week. But I guess if it's just one, that might be something I can look into. But at this point, well and truly, if you're still watching it, if there's any ideas like that you think could be a good idea, let me know. Because this series I'm mostly doing for myself in the future, to be able to look back on this venture of seeing these shows. And it's like, if people like those videos, then cool, but they're mostly for me. So it's like, if I could do other videos that people would actually be interested in, and it's like talking about a program, it's like, that sounds stupid, but is it the kind of stupid where you're like, I'm not going to watch this idiot talk about a piece of paper for 10 minutes? Or is it the kind of stupid that's like, oh my gosh, this guy's just talking about, it's like that scene from American Psycho, where it's just like, I got nothing better to do. I'll watch this guy talk about a piece of paper for 10 minutes. Like, I feel like that could go either way. And maybe if it was someone that wasn't me, it would be more interesting. Because, if it was a graphic designer or something, who knows what they're talking about, then they could use all the lingo and put, I'm just a guy. And there are things that look good to me, and there are things that don't look good to me. So I don't know how well that would work as a series. But at this point, I'm rambling. I still haven't thought of the thing that I was going to say about the show that I never got back to it. I never figured out what it was. But it was an enjoyable time. A lot of people were laughing quite a bit. I mean, for how old it is, a lot of the humor still holds up. And I think that's it for this video. Because I don't want to just ramble forever. So, thank you for watching. Have a good day.